All right, everybody, how we doing out there? Welcome to Ready Set Crypto's Ready Set Live on Wednesday, the 14th. Today's Bastille Day. Welcome aboard, everybody.
Hello, hello. How's everyone doing out there?
Let us know where you're coming in from. And
the recording has stopped.
Today is going to be kind of an open session day. We don't really have anything prepared for you, so I do have a little bit of music prepared for you guys for Bastille Day. We can kind of go over this a little bit.
Make sure we get that copyright.
Yeah, we want to make sure we get copyright busted for today. A little bit of a different session today.
It's definitely the middle of summer here, and you know, the crypto markets have traditionally been pretty lean during these times. So if you're around watching this right now, you're a true crypto believer, and you know, applaud you on that. So thank you. But yeah, where are you guys coming in from? Let's keep this today's session pretty light and fun. But we're just going to be doing some Q&A. We're going to be talking about how to look at markets, how to look at some of these crypto projects out there, and how to basically start preparing for when crypto turns back around. This is where the real money's made. So if you're in the game right now, you're doing it right.
All right. Bonjour, Paris. Happy Bastille Day to you. All right. Let's see. We got Amsterdam. We have Northern Pennsylvania. The bottom is very closer than the top. I hope so. That'd be great. Chicago, Illinois. Yeah. We have Croatia. We have digital modes from England. What part of England are you from?
And are you doing okay?
Yeah. Are you okay? That was tough. That was a tough match. Congratulations to Italy. We have Turkey. Turkey. Istanbul was Constantinople. Is that right? Devon.
I think it's the other way around.
Right. Sydney, Australia. Okay, well, guys, welcome aboard. Today, again, is Wednesday, the 14th of July, Bastille Day. And we're just going to be doing an open session today. So if there's anything that you guys want to talk about, you know, we can certainly go over some of the charts. We can look at things based on the pairs that you guys want to take a look at. Be happy to do that. We can talk about techniques. We can talk about any kind of coins and what you want to talk about. We're not going to be pushing anything today. Today is one of those days. I mean, we've been sitting here for the past 3 months with everything just stuck in a range and everybody wondering which way to go. People being chopped up to death. This is a good time to kind of step back and get some perspective.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah. All over the world, you guys. It's always pretty cool to see how global crypto is. And yeah, no matter what time it is where you are, appreciate you hanging out with us. And yeah, let's kick things off. So Doc, what are you seeing from the market perspective? Things obviously seem pretty flat right now, but is there anything kind of shaping up to move in a certain direction, or are we just kind of flat and non-volume driven right now?
I never thought you'd ask. Okay, well, let's look over this. You know, what we're seeing is the price is holding where it should be holding. It's finding support where it should be finding. But what we have to be, you know, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, guys. I don't want to sit here and blow smoke at you guys and say, oh, everything's bullish. This is a bearish pattern that I'm seeing. This is a descending triangle pattern. This is typically bearish, but again, crypto has proven over and over again that it doesn't necessarily care when it comes to long established patterns. But typically it will bang, bang, bang. It will eat up all the demand. And then when the demand is finally eaten up below 30,000, we're going to have a drop down to wherever the next level is. That's if it happens that way. Again, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. What I'd love to see is a break below here, kind of like what we had back here, that break below 28,000. That caused a hell of a short squeeze to the upside. I mean, we got 8,000 points to the upside. I mean, that's a big move. I'd love to see another undercut and everybody completely flip bearish, and then that gets squeezed out. Descending patterns can break to the upside. So that is just the overall market with BTC. We're seeing pretty much the same thing with just about every asset out there. The support is holding for the assets where it should be holding. And so we're setting up an enormous, decision point here coming forward. If I go out to the monthly chart and go out to the energies out here, this is where we're starting to see, here's Ethereum versus the US dollar. It just got so far ahead of itself. And this is, by the way, this is a cup with handle pattern, and it played out almost exactly to its upper target. And now it's coming back down to retest from above. This is very, very common to see something like that. Again, what you have to do to survive in this world is you got to think differently. You got to think differently than everybody else. If you trade the same way as everybody else, you're going to get the same results as everybody else. You got to think differently. You can't go along with the herd.
Well said. Well said. So we got some questions rolling in here, and we'll do our best to address them. One of the first ones I want to talk about is regarding the Grayscale unlocks this month. And for those who aren't aware, Grayscale is the one who facilitates the Grayscale Bitcoin Fund, or GBTC. And they're due to release in excess of 40,000 BTC over the course of the next coming weeks. In particular, I want to pay attention to this Sunday, July 18th, where they're going to be releasing about 16,000 BTC. And as things regarding institutional, happenings often go, people are kind of on the fence as to whether or not this is going to do absolutely nothing to the markets, or this will be, something that will maybe be like a flashpoint for either bearish or bullish movement. I am kind of the opinion that when these GBTC, it's hard to say, shares get unlocked and, get sold, basically, this is going to cause the GBTC premium to drop. And that means that the share price is relative to the price of BTC, in the trust. It basically is a bearish movement. And that's going to put some bearish, sell pressure onto BTC. But is it going to be enough to move the markets in any substantial way for any substantial period of time? Probably not. We've seen this sort of stuff before. I mean, we've been seeing it over the last couple of weeks, so like Death Cross, and oh man, here comes some bad news from Jerome Powell this morning about we have nothing to fear about stable coins and stuff like that. This is always sort of the ruminations of where things are going from both a regulatory and market perspective. And quite honestly, more often than not, it's the larger things going on outside of the crypto space that drives the overall market pressure. For example, like China kicking out some of the miners, that's a big deal. That had some, relative price pressure related to that, but it's all an equivalence thing where there's less miners in China that will be made up around the world. And that's just kind of the nature of things. That's the nature of Bitcoin, is that it's a self-correcting mechanism. And whenever there is an imbalance of one of the forces, be that buying or selling, fear or greed, it will come back. The pendulum will swing the other way eventually. So that's kind of where we are with that. It's a great question about Grayscale. And I think, relatively, I think it's just kind of one of those minor events, might drive the price down or something like that, just for a little bit there. But we'll see things bounce back, and so it'll be an opportunity. All right, what else do you guys want to talk about today? As we've talked about, it's sort of a Q&A day, because this is pretty much the most boring day of the year we've seen for the crypto markets. So now is a chance to kind of like take some time, breathe, make some strategic moves for the rest of the year, and just get in ahead of all those people who just FOMO into stuff and don't think with anything other than their emotions. Now's the time to be strategic, to be rational, and utilize logic rather than just pure emotion, which you don't want to do in the crypto markets.
Hey, I'm gonna grab this thing for a minute here, Mav. And just talk about the boring topic of interest rates. This is the 10-year note yield. And what this represents is it's kind of the way that people look at interest rates. So right now, if you look at this is 1.4. This is a weekly chart on the 10-year note. And so this is where all the inflation, this spring, this is where we've felt the inflation. But what is happening lately? So all of a sudden, we're getting all these reports of inflation coming along, and everybody's like, right? Everybody's talking about inflation, inflation, inflation. Look out for this, look out for that. How can you believe how expensive everything is? Then why is the bond market going up? Why are interest rates going down? Even when Jerome Powell is addressing Congress this week, okay? This is actually kind of huge, because the entire herd is thinking that we're going to be getting interest rates going higher and higher and higher, and inflation going higher and higher. Well, the bond market is saying exactly the opposite thing. And actually, I was surprised your buddy Kathy Wood was actually bringing this up the other day. So this may be the contrarian take on this, is that it may be instead deflation instead of inflation going forward. Don't be surprised. So this is what happens with markets, guys, is that the punditry and everybody, all the talking heads, gets everybody pointed in one direction. And then what happens is everything moves the opposite direction. This has been happening as long as I've been involved in markets, and you just can't trust. You almost don't want to listen to the news, because the news will give you that confirmation bias and say, oh, I know what's going on. No, you don't, right? So this is an example of that, where watch what happens to interest rates. They actually may be starting to come down.
Great points. Yeah. Let's dive into a couple. I see some questions about specific projects. We'll talk about a couple here. The question about Unibright's, I saw you ask that last week, and so I dug into it a little bit. Unibright's interesting. They're doing a lot of stuff from like the kind of like more corporate blockchain side of things. So, it's very much like I see how IBM approaches blockchain. It's very much just business oriented. It's very by the book. It's not trying to be this flashy unicorn. It's trying to solve some real problems and build some real infrastructure. And I think where the markets are right now and where we kind of see things going, that's precisely the sort of stuff we like to see. We like to see stuff being built right now while the hype is down, because it means it's going to have substance. If it can survive in this sort of market environment, I think there's a lot of reasons to like it. So does that mean it needs a token? Not quite. It's one of those ones where, you're using the token to pay for the services, and, that's okay. If it's well integrated, then sure, it will work. But for like a specific company, like, I don't know, it's one of those ones that I'm not quite sure if it's worth it just being a token and investing in that way. That all being said, it's not a bad project. I think there's a lot to like about Unibright. So thanks for asking. Another one that I see has been brought up is REN, REN. And that one I will tie into, there's another question about is Matic or Polygon a good project to invest in right now? Because REN is kind of based off of the Polygon ecosystem, their fates are a little bit tied, and specifically tied into the 900-pound gorilla in the room, Ethereum. And it's upgrades that are slated to come out. In particular, we'll be seeing EIP 1559 and what is it, EIP 3554. They're slated to go in August 4th. And we just saw the sort of confirmation block be put forth for 1559 in particular, which is a big deal. It means it's pretty much confirmed at this point. We have affirmation that Ethereum is moving forward. It's getting closer and closer to those big upgrades that we keep talking about. And that's a big deal for projects kind of building off of Ethereum or tied into Ethereum. Matic Polygon is a great example of that. They're helping Ethereum become more interoperable and help with layer 2 solutions. It's a big deal for Ethereum to be hitting targets in a way that's everybody can watch happening, and it's not getting delayed or anything like that. That's a big deal for Matic just as much as it is for Ethereum. And the same deal is true for Ren. Ren is trying to do it's like interchain liquidity, and they advertise doing stuff like atomic swaps at 100 times the speed. I don't really know what the utility of that would be because atomic swaps are already pretty fast. But we just saw today Shapeshift close down, and they were the big ones kind of pushing atomic swaps around, and just this ability to, like, let's say you want to trade BTC for, I don't know, Solana or something like that, to just be able to like trade it natively or swap it rather than having to like sell BTC and buy Solana or something like that, like on an exchange. So that better sense of liquidity, especially interchain, I think is a big deal. I think that's kind of what we need to see stuff grow in a more mature way. And hopefully, projects like Ren can push that forward. It's really hard to talk about. It's not the most exciting sort of project in the same way that like a lot of these infrastructure projects are. But based off what I've seen, it's a pretty good project and it's doing the right things. So can it break into the top 100? Remains to be seen. But I like what I see so far. So hopefully it can stick around and prove its utility. So great questions. Okay. So Doc, I think this question is good for you. If the stock market crashes, what will then happen to the crypto markets?
Yeah, we've already seen this happen a couple of times. When it doesn't matter what market that you're in, everything, when a crash happens, a true crash, everything gets thrown out the window, because what's happening is you're getting margin called from, and these are big firms too. These are big firms getting margin calls from their primary broker and saying, you have to raise cash right now to meet your obligations. So you're going to sell all your winners. You're going to sell everything. You're going to sell even assets like gold, which are supposedly crash proof. You're going to sell Bitcoin or any other digital assets, because it's like, okay, this is another risk asset. I need to liquidate this to raise cash. This is what happens every single time. If you go back and look during some of the worst crashes that we've had, everything gets destroyed temporarily. But then what you'll see is that digital assets, people will, like back last March in 2020, that was the bottom right there. That was when equities crashed. We did have a digital crash at the same time, but it recovered much, much faster and with more intensity. So everything gets sold, even gold, even precious metals, everything like that. So when, it's what they say from the trading floor, when in doubt, palms out, which means that's the old floor trader sign for sell. So that's what happens during that time. So I want to, I'm going to steal this just for a second here. And there was a couple of coins that people have brought to my attention. One was by Marcos, one of our members, wrote in today and said, hey, what do you think about this coin? I'm like, my God, look at this thing go. So there are various assets that are out there. So even though we're in this corrective pattern right now, they're going to be, you can find these needles in a haystack. Now, I wouldn't necessarily jump into this one right now. I would wait until it retraces or backtracks, or maybe does a swing test here at about 12, if it's going to do that, or maybe it's just going to do a high and tight consolidation. That's one that you can look for. Another one that has been brought up in these very domains here lately has been Hex. Hex is one of the best charts that I've seen in a long time. And it is beautiful patterns that are coming out of this thing. Just some of the most gorgeous chart patterns that I've seen in a long time. Look at the volume, you know, or as they would say in Monty Python, look at the bones. That's what you look for, is volume. The volume is confirmation of what's going on there. So Hex looks really good. I've been talking about Hex at your request for the last couple of weeks, and I like this one a lot. Okay, so we're getting a question here. Let's say ERSDL. Let's see. I am not familiar with that one, but I'll look it up and see if I can find it. Okay, so this is Unifederal Reserve Token. It's not looking too good right now. It's in a primary downtrend to the downside right now. So until I see this start to build some positive momentum, watch for this descending pattern to get broken to the upside, because that may start the chain reaction, which creates what I call a change in polarity back up to the upside. But right now, don't buy assets that are heading lower in price. Let's see. Another person is asking about Decentraland. Decentraland. Let's see if I can find it here. It's down here. There we go. Decentraland actually doesn't look that bad. It's fending off the death cross right now and is consolidating nicely, looking to get some volume coming under there. I like that look to that. Buddy is asking, are we in a mid-cycle dip or entering a bear market? That's tough. That's a really tough question, because I don't know the answer to that one right now. I would have to say it's a mid-cycle dip until it breaks this fib retracement here. So this is my kind of North Star, buddy, what I'm looking at, and it's the fib retracement that's on here, going from the weekly chart, or sorry, the monthly chart, all the way up to this, and it's still holding the 61.8% retracement. So that's still good. As long as it holds that, I'm good to go. And also, if we look at the log chart, the log chart looks absolutely normal. This looks like just a standard pullback on the log chart. Doesn't look like it's the end of the world or the next 3-year bear market. So those are still good. And as long as those are still valid, those are my North Stars. And I remain optimistic until those levels are broken. Okay, just a couple of other ones here. Let's reset the chart back to daily and then get off the log chart. Log chart's interesting to look at for perspective. Let's see, sand. Again, another new one, which I'm just going to do this versus the US dollar. That actually looks good, because what I like about sand versus the US dollar, this descending pattern's broken. Okay, we have perhaps a false death cross here happening, which could get reversed. Half of the death crosses that I do see get reversed and blown up. Having a big day here today, and the volume is coming in. This one is looking really good. And that's mining ain't easy. Let's see. Last one I'll bring up here, and then we'll wrap up today's session. Unless you have any other questions, is on, let's see, Cocos. Okay, so we're just going to look at this versus Tether. Doesn't look too bad, but it looks like a failed breakout. This looks like a failed breakout at this point. So I don't like seeing these topping tails where you have the prices pushed way up, and then it's by the end of the day, you lose it all. And I don't really see any volume here. So this is extremely light volume, which is occurring on this. So to me, this looks like a failed breakout for now, but I'd be willing to be wrong on this if this prints a higher low, higher high, and starts to work itself higher. Okay. Okay, one last one, Polkadot. Let's see, I got to go up to the top here. Polkadot, what's going on? Doesn't look good. This is not what I think about the project or the program, but this is what the price is telling me right now. It doesn't look good. Primary downtrend. Don't buy things that are heading lower. Okay. Back off the charts. Anything else for today? Anything else for Mav or myself for today?
I think it was interesting you brought up AXS. That's Axie Infinity, which is on an absolute tear right now. We talked about it last week when it was, let me check my notes here. It was 117 in terms of market cap. We also talked about it back March 3rd, and that's when it was, let me see here. It was, I believe, like 236 in terms of market cap, and today it's 66.
So you're basically taking credit for that then?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay,
yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
But yeah, let's see. There was a couple other ones. Quant Network, I know we've talked about before. I think that's a solid project. Yeah, there's a lot to like there. That's a pretty general review of it, but I know we've talked about it in previous streams, and definitely one I think is continuing, especially being listed on Coinbase. That should be a vote of confidence right there. There was a question about the recent close by Wells Fargo of their personal lines of credit. For those that don't know what that means, it's basically they've closed off access to the sort of loans you would get to like restructure high interest credit card debt or something like that. They're still doing like credit cards and things like that. But over the last year, compared to like the other big banks out there, Wells Fargo suffered the worst in terms of loans. And this is them basically saying that, hey, we're seeking cover. We're getting rid of some of our higher risk products, and we're moving into stuff that we know is going to make us money. So yeah, it's definitely it's not a good sign, especially as you indicate. Yeah, I believe they did do this back in 2008, right before the crash. So is that a flag for, are we going to see another 2008 style crash or 2020 style crash? Who knows? But definitely Wells Fargo is trying to circle the wagons, pun intended, I guess. It's definitely them just trying to, they're still recovering from like the fake account scandal and some of the other stuff that happened last year. So, who knows what big banks are doing these days, but they're going to do what they believe is risk advantageous to them. Let's see. Yeah, I think the last question to answer here is, are we like mid-cycle dip, or is this the beginning of a bear market? And I'll repeat what we've pretty much, has been our stance for the last year or so, in that the Fed is, got certain monetary policy in the fact that it's not going to let the stock market, go down a lot. It's going to dip here and there, but we're never going to see it, just absolutely crash and stay down. It's known as the Fed put, and it's the Fed's policy to just kind of continue to print money to continue to inflate the equities market, regardless of the sense of that notion. And that's been on full display all, the last year or so, and doesn't look like they're letting up on that. So that combined with, there was another question about, let's see, it was like, where's Bitcoin going? Or is this like a good time to get in? Man, I just had this question pulled up. But yeah, basically I know what it was. It was, we're seeing like longer trends and we're seeing less return. And that is kind of a feature of the crypto market becoming more mature. It's going to be less of this volatility and more of this more stable kind of asset class. And for some people, that's really good. For some people, that's really bad. If you're a risky speculator, you want the volatility. You want the spikes in price and whatnot. You want the ability to make, 4 times returns in like a week. And that just doesn't fly with the more institutional way, the more institutional way of trying to mitigate risk and have things more stable and things like that. So that is the direction we're going as more players get into the space, as the space kind of grows up. But there will definitely be opportunities to be risky, speculative. There will definitely be volatility. That's not going away anytime soon. So all that's to say is that yes, the market's boring right now. Yes, it's a little bit red, but that's the opportunity too. This is the opportunity to get in on the ground floor of what is going to be the next bullish cycle, whenever that is. So I think it's a time to just kind of mitigate risk, invest in what you know, do some research, read up on some of the stuff that's starting to percolate to the surface. Some of the exciting ventures that blockchain crypto is going towards. But is it a time to panic? Is it a time to be worried about where things are going? I don't think so. I think it's a time for embracing innovation and being an early adopter of something that's going to be very big years down the road. So if that's what your investing thesis, what you want to operate by is, then yeah, this is the best place for you. I think there's only upside from here in terms of the ability for this to be a transformative space, a disruptive one, because we're not seeing the same sort of innovation from the legacy space. So all that said, yeah, it's a quiet summer, but the quiet times are when wealth is built. So yeah, take it in stride and just enjoy the summer maybe. Cool. I think that's it from us. Doc, do you have anything else?
No, I got nothing for today. So you guys Take care. You guys have a great week, and we hope to see you again next week, and maybe we'll get some movement.
Hopefully.
All right. Take care, everybody. Everybody be good out there, or be good at it. See you guys.
Cheers, guys.
AMF.